Dean Stockwell has the crew of the Star Trek Enterprise detained. He's got Mayweather and his former star on Quantum Leap. He has Scott Bakula. He has Archer detained. I was like, why is he being so mean to Archer? This is not nice. This is a season 1 Star Trek Enterprise episode. We're going to talk about it using my space system, story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 and 2. 2 is the best. I'm going to give the storyline a 1.5. I like this one. It was great to have Dean Stockwell on there. Like, oh, and then they're fighting each other. That's kind of cool. Look, I mean, I'm chilling out on this series a little bit, but I really enjoy it a lot, and I think it's really fun. This one was a masterfully slotted episode. Let's say that. So the story here, and I didn't give it a 2. I could very easily give it a 2 out of 2, actually, on this one. I'm not, because it's still a bit obvious. It's obvious, but it's done so well that I want to give it a 1.5. So you got the Suliban. Now, if you're watching in order, if you're watching Enterprise in order, and if you're watching my videos in order, you know the Suliban are bad guys. They're basically like the Skrulls. They've got different powers. Some of them can stretch, invisible, whatever, right? No one's turned into a rock creature yet, but you never know. So the Suliban have these augmented powers, and they're part of this cabal. They're bad guys, and we've seen that they're bad guys. So this episode here, Mayweather and Archer are put into this sort of encampment, right? Where they've got all this other race, Dean Stockwell's guys, have all the Suliban captured, and they're like, well, they're Suliban, so they could become Cabal members. They could be bad guys right now. We don't know. And look, we understand the parallels, right? So we all know that this is a World War II thing where it's like, let's say the United States didn't trust the Japanese people, so Japanese citizens were locked up or in this camp for their own protection, and also because you didn't trust them. So we understand the parallels here, but what was done brilliantly in this episode, and why I'm giving it 1.5, I'm not giving it 2 because it is obvious, but I'm giving it 1.5 because we, the audience, were in the same position as Archer, which is, well, we don't trust the Suliban because you attacked us, you guys are bad guys, you're doing this temporal Cold War thing, so we already don't trust them. So we start in the position of not trusting them. And then as you start to learn with these people, you start to trust them. So this is an example of actually good writing, where the storytellers and the writers of this actually try to make you understand that, hey, not all Suliban are bad. They're not just saying it like, oh, hey, they're not all bad guys. He. Like, this is the modern writing where people can't write anything. They just have dialogue said, and then you're supposed to be like, oh, I get it. No, this is showing you, because even while you're watching in the beginning, you're like, well, I don't know. What if some of these guys are undercover? Maybe this guy's fake. Maybe this guy's a bad Suliban, and this whole thing's, and he's an undercover guy. I don't know. And just slowly, your prejudices turn. Mayweather has some great lines. We'll talk to the character. Well, I'll get to the characters. Anyways, I love the story. That's enough on that. It was done very, very well. Pacing 1.5. Of course, this is one of these wait to get rescued or try to figure out what's going on. So it's not edge of your seat, pacing. But I wasn't bored, and there was some tense moments. So I'm still going to give it a 1.5 because there was a couple of nail biting scenes. So I still liked it. Artistry, I'll give it a 1.5. I mean, it's in that detention camp, so there's not anything going on. I think the Suliban makeup is really cool to me. They look really neat. I don't know what it is. There's something about them. I don't know who designed those. I don't know if it was Westmore or who designed these guys, but they look friggin' cool to me. And they're humanoid, and they're just regular face guys. They don't have any ridges or anything, but just the makeup looks so cool. So I'm giving it extra points for that. Dean Stockwell guys, his race just has a couple of thingies on their head or whatever. So they have a little thingy on their ridge here. It's okay, but the Suliban look wicked, so I like that. Characters, 2 out of 2, man. Firstly, everyone in this is the damn best. Crew of the Enterprise, standard. They're awesome. But Mayweather, the way he went through his whole progression, he even says to the guy, he's like, listen, I didn't trust your people, but I got over my prejudice. Now it's time for you to get over yours to trust me. Perfectly said. Simple, right? Listen, I came here, didn't trust Suliban. They attacked us. That's it. What am I going to tell you? But I got over it. I got to know you guys. Not all Suliban are bad. This is what makes science fiction separate from science fantasy. Fantasy, like Star Wars, is different. Lord of the Rings is fantasy, right? There's no orcs that are good guys. Like no orcs sits there says, well, I'm not like all the other orcs. You know, the orcs are just bad guys. Like that's what they are. This is why Dungeons and Dragons comes from Lord of the Rings, because you want to be a dwarf. Well, here's what dwarfs do. Now, of course, there could be subtle differences, but a dwarf is a dwarf. A hobbit's a hobbit. Obviously, hobbits don't go on adventures. Bilbo does go on an adventure, but he's not radically different, right? Maybe one or two aspects can be slightly different in a fantasy world character, right? Some men are a little bit more meaner. Some are, some men are a bit more noble, but there shouldn't be big changes. But something like this with Star Trek, and I love Lord of the Rings, obviously, and I love Star Wars. But something here with Star Trek where like each guy is different. There's one Suliban guy who's a father. He's like, look, I'm not part of this cabal. I don't like what's going on here. Right? Then you got one guy who's like, you know what, screw these guys. Like they're treating me like crap. I don't trust these humans either. They look like them. I'm not gonna trust them either. Again, two Suliban who are innocent. They're not part of the cabal. They're not doing anything bad, but they're different. So this is the coolness about Star Trek, and the nuances of these characters and these races is really done well in this one a lot. The enjoyment factor, well, I'm giving it a 2 out of 2 because I thought this episode was freaking damn good. So 8.5 out of 10. I already explained why I really liked it. I don't need to get much more into enjoyment. I'm trying to keep these videos under 10 minutes. 5 minutes if possible. This one's already over. So that is it. I really like this one a lot. 8.5 out of 10. Good job. They could never pull this off in a modern Star Trek episode, unless you're watching this in the year 2050 or something and they've pulled it off by now. But nah, they can't do it now. There's no subtlety in writing. There's no characterizations. There's just statements. Characters make statements and say dialogue, and then you're supposed to just be like, oh, okay. There's never pushback. There's never a conversation about a topic. There's just my statement. I am the writer. This is the statement that I want to make. My character says it, and then no one questions that, and then you move on with your day. Terrible writing now, but not on this episode. This is a great one. If you like my space system, please like the video, consider subscribing to the channel, check out the other Star Trek stuff. That's it. Until next time.